What's happening, friends? Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and on this channel I talk about cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and economics. Today's video is another interview. I'll be interviewing Sir Coopernicus, also known as Coop, on the show today. Coop is from Fief Guild, an NFT gaming guild on Avalanche. In this interview, he shared some really cool knowledge he has about where he sees NFT gaming going, what Fief Guild is building, and what tools he uses to analyze NFTs. Personally, I've always been more into DeFi than NFTs, but it is an important part of the cryptocurrency landscape, and I really like Coop's data-based approach to the space. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Welcome to the show, Sir Coopernicus. I connected with Coop via Twitter. He is the guy for NFT gaming. He's from Fief Guild and has been heavily involved in the Avalanche ecosystem for a while. So I thought I'd invite him on the show to share some of his knowledge, sort of pick his brain on all things NFT gaming and what he's been working on at Fief.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me, Patrick. I think you nailed the intro.
Thanks. Just for viewers, why don't you share a little bit more about yourself, how you got involved in crypto, and what you're working on now?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Coop. My background really is in digital marketing and e-commerce for 10 years prior to joining crypto. Selling things online, marketing fits really nicely into NFTs, which is essentially the same, but it's a digital asset. And I started working in crypto close to a year ago now. And my first position was at Pangolin Exchange, which is a decentralized exchange on the Avalanche network. And I got there really randomly. I was just getting more involved in DeFi on a personal level and attending Twitter Spaces. Happened to attend one where they were talking about careers. This is like the classic story that you always hear about, like just show up, just be there, and maybe something happens. And I got really lucky talking about careers. I raised my hand, asked, like, what about digital marketing? Do I need to know anything about coding? What kind of background do I need? And after they reached out and just happened to be looking for someone in that role. So I did a trial and started working for Pangolin within 2 weeks of Twitter Spaces.
Oh, wow. So was that last summer?
Yeah.
Summer 2021.
Summer fallen into fall. Yeah, sometime around then. So very serendipitous and worked out extremely well for me. And so I worked at Pangolin up until the start of this year. And that kind of flows into my transition into NFTs. So it got started with DeFi, and that's what Avalanche is really known for. And at Pangolin, we started to see GameFi develop and evolve. Like obviously at a decentralized exchange, you work with everyone who's launching a token. So you start to meet the teams, get a feel for what's trending. And we were just seeing so many game projects launching. So I started to really put those pieces together and think, maybe it's time to pivot into actual full gaming, and Fief Guild came along around that time. So was able to move towards the trend in NFT gaming with Fief Guild. I'll tell you a little bit more about Fief in depth in a couple minutes, I think. That's been my journey at a high level so far. Did I miss anything?
You tell me. Definitely we want to talk about Fief at some point.
Yeah.
And what you guys are doing there.
Before
Pangolin, how did you get involved in crypto?
Yeah, good question. So it was like word of mouth. Friends were getting involved in Bitcoin, Ethereum. And so I thought it sounded like it had potential, but I never really dove into it at first. It was always a little scary. So I held some Ethereum for a long time before I actually did anything with it. And in fact, I think I made like 1 or 2 transactions on Ethereum in the year before joining Avalanche. It was expensive. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm not a whale. I didn't have a ton of money to LP with. So I was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. I could see this going somewhere. But I got into Avalanche, and the second I tried something, it was just so quick, easy, and cheap. And I was like, whoa, this is a whole new world. I could see how this can take off. And yeah, that really got me to dive in further and further until I was joining Twitter Spaces and really wanting to be involved, seeing it as the future instead of just a speculative asset that I didn't really understand.
That's awesome. I had a very similar experience with Avalanche as far as I'd used Ethereum a few times. I remember there was a coin Audius that I wanted to buy back in early 2021, but the fees were just crazy. The delays were ridiculous. And then I tried Binance Smart Chain, but that has its own set of problems. And I remember trying Avalanche maybe in May of last year and just thinking it just works, right? It's just fast. It's a little bit more expensive now, but still significantly cheaper than Ethereum. At the time, it was pennies. And it just literally just worked. And actually, I did a video yesterday where I talked about investing in products that you use personally, and Avalanche was an example because it was something that if you tried it before last summer, it felt like a faster version of Ethereum.
Right. Yeah, I think that could be Avalanche's slogan at some point. Is it just works? Like it is what you want when it comes to a network.
Cool. So you got involved in Pangolin, got involved in Fief. Can you explain a bit more about what Fief is for the audience?
Yeah, so Fief Guild is an economic guild for the metaverse. And you might hear the term guild in a lot of different contexts in crypto. So I want to clarify, we're not a scholarship guild. Scholarship guilds are most of what you hear about when it comes to guilds. And a scholarship guild means you're a group, you acquire assets for a certain game, and then you find other people to play with those assets and share the revenue with them. And so you're trying to make a return on your initial investment through that actual play of the game, but you're not playing the game. So we're not that. And instead we see NFT gaming as having huge potential, but it's got a long way to develop. And along the way, there's going to be a lot of tools that are needed. So we want to build those tools that games and users need in order to have a flourishing economy around NFT gaming. So the easiest, most basic one is an NFT marketplace. There's tons of NFT marketplaces, but most of them focus on PFPs or art. They're a nice little e-commerce shop that doesn't do any one thing too deeply. And we want to go the other route and be really niche towards gaming and build out an experience that feels super customized to that game instead of that sort of generic feel. So the goal would be to partner with a top tier NFT gaming project or studio and make them their marketplace and make it customized to their metadata, their feel, their lore, the information, all of that. So that's one example, but then there's anything in DeFi that exists today might exist in a niche gaming product at some point. So a DEX that's specifically geared towards gaming tokens. Basically anything in the DeFi world could be niched down to gaming.
I see. Yeah, because I guess I imagine if you had something like World of Warcraft, it's been a decade, more than a decade since I played that, but they had the marketplace and exchange there, whatever it was called. A game that was based on NFTs would need something like that built. Is that the sort of thing you guys would make?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of games are going to make their own, but there's plenty that don't want to. They want to make the game, and then they want to have their secondary peer-to-peer marketplace be handled by somebody else. And that's what we're looking for. Like right now, if you look at Ethereum, that's where the largest games are, and they still use OpenSea, and they send people to OpenSea. It's just a subpar experience. So we think at some point there will be the opportunity for us to play that role and be a better version for their specific need.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I always say that the games that onboard tens of millions of people, or the first game that onboards 1 billion people, let's say, the people probably they'll barely know they're interacting with the blockchain. It'll all happen in the back end. So they don't want to go to some random website. They just want it to be integrated into the game itself.
Yeah. They either want it to be integrated or just feel like a nice, easy user experience that's not foreign. Yeah.
Cool. And then why did you guys decide to build on Avalanche?
Well, at the time, Avalanche had a lot of great narrative around gaming, and the idea of subnets being a huge benefit to games that can essentially have their own private blockchain geared towards their use case, which at the time it sounded like games might be heavy transactions, have a lot of them, and doing something like that on Ethereum was, not appealing. I think it's changed a little bit in that at least in my head, I've realized that a lot of transactions are not necessary in a game. In fact, you don't need to put everything on chain. And so my perspective has changed around that a bit, but it's still having that privatized blockchain experience could be really valuable depending on the game studio.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Even in terms of purchasing and selling NFTs, I would think that Ethereum gas as it stands now would be not realistic.
Right.
I mean, you can buy a high quality game for the cost of an Ethereum gas for a transaction, right?
Right.
A high quality non-NFT game.
Right. And it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, because like right now games are entirely centralized, right? They're just on someone's server in the background. So going from that to everything's on chain might not be the right answer, right? Because it's a huge difference. It might be something like it's still mostly centralized on their servers, but you own certain aspects on chain. So I think it's very early and we have to see how it develops, but there's a number of ways it can go.
Interesting. Yeah, that would make sense, because I would think that people, for most aspects, they wouldn't, except for the hardcore purists, crypto OGs, most people wouldn't care whether everything was on chain, right?
Right. So what's the real benefit of NFTs in gaming? It's just asset ownership over some of like the key parts of the game that they already exist, right? Like you have WoW Gold, but it's just not yours. You can't do anything with that if the game doesn't, let you. You don't own it. And so just giving some aspect of that ownership might be, in light ways, might be the first step. And yeah, the crypto maxis might have other views, but I think the truth is we're not going for crypto maxis in NFT gaming. We're going for the masses. So we'll see.
Very interesting point. Cool. So one thing that jumped out to me looking through your Twitter content, by the way, for people who are watching, definitely recommend giving Coop a follow. I guess we'll share your details at the end of the video. But one thing I liked was how you were posting a lot of stats related to NFTs.
Yeah.
Can you share some of your favorite metrics or resources related to that?
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen just to really look at this. All right, so I'll pause here if you want tools. These are the 4 that right now I'm using pretty much every day. And they all serve a little bit of a different purpose. And I think it'd be cool to walk through a couple of these because some of them are paid and you won't be able to get in there and see for yourself. Crypto Slam is free, so we won't do that one too much. But what I like about Crypto Slam is it's really the only place right now that shows you NFT volume across chains. And so you can compare what's happening macro level. Like, is Ethereum still leading? Is Solana picking up? And so that in my head, that just helps me understand, like, where am I looking generally right now for like hot trends? And you can also see like which individual project is leading, but many tools offer that. I think Crypto Slam is better for the macro.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's something that I think I had asked you at one point which website you could use for that, but that's data that I find personally very interesting, because we had those L1 rotations with DeFi in the fall, and it would be interesting if one could replicate that with NFTs to some extent.
Well, and I think we're seeing that like right now with Solana. So Solana volume's picking up. They've had a collection at the #1 spot for the first time in a while, maybe ever. And there's a lot of things going on with that, but Crypto Slam IO is how I keep up with it. And yeah, we might see more rotation, and it's just good to understand like what's actually happening outside of my bubble.
Do you think that Avalanche NFTs will have their moment?
I hope so. Yeah. Do I think it's soon? No. I think the combination of the bear market and needing some time for things to develop, I don't think it's soon. But we have that 100 million fund for I forget the exact wording of it, culture catalyst, and that could be big. We're working with Grimes, and I could see it bringing in a lot of attention. So maybe.
Well, that would be cool. Quick aside, there was this one project, Avax Blobs. Actually, I think they just
Oh yeah.
came out with a game. Yeah, no, I minted about 50 of those back in the
Oh
fall.
wow. Yeah. Nice.
And have taken definitely a loss on them, but I'm holding out. I'm holding out, hoping that the game goes somewhere.
Yeah, I minted some of those as well. It was a good classic one. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing this and maybe pivot over to Nansen, because Nansen is really helpful in a number of ways, and I think you're familiar with Nansen. All right, are you able to see Nansen right now?
Yes.
Okay. So Nansen's just a general crypto data tool that's extremely helpful in a number of ways, but what I've really loved about NFTs is they have this section for NFT Paradise. Now, for them, it's only Ethereum, and that's going to be maybe a problem as Solana develops. And obviously, you can't use it for AVAX either, but Ethereum's where most of the action happens anyway. So the part that I like about Nansen is the Mint Master. And the reason is that it can be hard to keep track of how many different projects are launching and what's cool right now. And so Mint Master really helps with that, because it's exactly showing you what is minting right now and how many minters does it have. Are there smart money minters? And generally, how's it going? And then you can dig in further by clicking on the individual collection. So to me, it's just a good way to catch up and coming projects. And with Ethereum, most projects, they sell first and then they have a pre-reveal section. So this is the way that you get in before it reveals, which is like when a flurry of activity happens. So it's not the best way, because ideally you're already on the whitelist and minting in advance. But in case you aren't, you can see like what's upcoming and maybe get there before it reveals. So I really like this portion of Nansen especially. And they also have some interesting things like trends. So trends will help you visualize a lot of the general macro market over time, which isn't that helpful from a trading perspective, in my opinion, but I like to know, like, are we growing? What's happening in NFTs?
Yeah, it's probably helpful for understanding where we are in the market cycle as well.
Yeah, it can be. But we don't, the thing is, like, NFTs are so new, there hasn't been a true bear market with them. So we don't really know what to expect. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I would think at some point there would have to be something. I mean, even Pokemon cards have bulls and bear markets, right?
True. Yeah. All right, and then there were a couple more, and I won't show them, but we can pull up the list again here. It was NFT Nerds, which is a tool that is really like almost technical analysis and like treating NFTs as a tradable asset and buying them, selling them quickly. And I found this helpful in post reveal or just after minting, when there's just a ton of activity. Like, NFTs are illiquid in general, but during these two times, they're pretty liquid if it's a hot project. Is the right after mint, while people that weren't on whitelist are trying to acquire, and right after reveal, when people are trying to grab like the cool hot revealed NFTs. During those two times, there's actually so much action on top projects that you can treat it like a trading activity and be sniping the low end and just bringing it back into the fold. So great tool for that. And then Trait Sniper is once you have a project in mind that you're really interested in, like I look at Ragnarok, and you feel good about this project long term, you might want to go find like some of the key traits that are really rare within a collection and pick up more of those, or sell some of yours, or understand the market in a little deeper way there.
Cool. And just for people who are watching, which of those are paid and which of those are free?
Ooh, Nansen is paid. CryptoSlam is free. NFT Nerds is a mix, and Trait Sniper is a mix. So really it's just Nansen is like full paid. You don't get anything free, and the rest are all either free or a mix.
Cool. Good to know. And by the way, for people watching, I will link those in the description as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, that is really helpful, actually. I'm just starting to get into NFTs myself, so I'll definitely be checking out some of those. And for people who are just like me, relatively new to NFTs or NFT gaming, but have been involved in DeFi or crypto, where would you recommend starting?
Yeah, I always come back to the fact that my network and my people that I hang out with in Discord are the 100% most valuable part of all of this. So that is your goal eventually, is to be in a space with other people who are interested in NFTs enough to maybe make a living out of it, and have a network of people who are all researching. It's your end goal. To start, I was thinking about this myself. If I did not work in the space, I would start with a specific collection that I liked and that was somewhat successful, start to meet people there and get an understanding for why it's successful in the first place before you start, moving on and looking at other collections. It does take a lot of time and experience. And I think that's why the network is so valuable, is that I now have 20 or 30 other people who have gone through a lot of the same learning, and they're now just eyes on the market for me, and are willing to share that. So that has been super valuable.
Awesome. And as far as what you've been looking at recently, are there any particular games or collections that you are excited about right now?
Yeah, well, Ragnarok, I'm definitely excited for and looking forward to. And I think I have this interesting thought that it might be heavily about the social experience in the metaverse. There's so many people that are, deep crypto users, famous people. Like, you basically might bump into celebrities in this game. And I think that's something somewhat unique. So I love Ragnarok, but
by the way, for people watching, can you explain just a little bit about Ragnarok? Yeah. By the way, I own one of the Ragnarok NFTs as well. It's sort of this cool, I don't know how to describe the aesthetic, but I really like the aesthetic of it, which is what attracted me. They have their music on Spotify, which I was listening to, and I said, it's sort of like a cyberpunk type vibe.
Yeah.
But can you explain just a little bit about what's involved in that?
That's like cyberpunk anime. So they're building I think they're calling it a metaverse, and it's a game though. So it's both metaverse and game, where you may hang out in the world, own real estate, own a building, and the NFT gives you access to be able to level up and grow your experience in the game. Even people without NFTs will be able to join and hang out, have a social experience. But the NFT gives you that deeper access for like leveling, essentially having a more playable character. And yeah, so it's social. It's got a open world story and questing, PvP. It's going to be kind of experimental, in my opinion, of like what this evolves into. But that's the high level, I think.
Cool. What else are you looking at right now?
Yeah, the other one I wanted to mention was Gala Games, and they have really hit me as doing a certain aspect really well. And that is that the game itself is easy to start and fun immediately. And NFTs, tokens, none of it comes into play until you're already like having fun and enjoying the game. And that experience has been something that I've been talking about for a while, but I tried out Spider Tanks, and just that was it. It was immediately like, this is what I've been saying. So I really am watching them, and I know that they have a ton of other games coming. So like, to me, they're somebody to watch.
Interesting.
Sure.
Now, are they the same people who do Townstar?
Yes,
they do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I tried out Townstar maybe almost a year ago, and I didn't know it was an NFT game.
Right. That's kind of the point, right? Like, there are games right now that have the attention of crypto users because of their earning aspects, but there are very few games like Gala is putting together that are getting attention of normal people. And that's, I think many people would agree that's what is going to win eventually. So yeah, it's Gala for me right now, and I think I have a lot more exploring to do on that front. And there's a ton of games coming to Avalanche specifically, but we're just early on that front. Like nothing is super playable that I see as long term.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I know there's a lot of exciting things being developed, but people need to realize these things take time, right?
Yes.
Some of these projects raise money. It takes even, experienced gaming studios. It takes multiple years to develop games sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the learning curve for DeFi people because they're so used to a protocol being live in weeks. And it's not going to happen here.
Cool. So, final question: where do you see the space of NFT gaming or NFTs broadly going in the next few years?
Oh, I think they're going to diverge. So right now we kind of think NFTs, we lump them all together. It's not a big enough market to really have full niches for NFT like collectibles versus NFT gaming. There's not enough users, any of that. But in 5 years, I see like an NFT gamer being a very different person than somebody that buys an NFT that's more about the collectible and brand experience. Like a Bored Ape, well, Bored Ape's going with gaming too, but I think before that, they were more of a brand. And maybe OK Bears is a good example of a brand NFT that's going to be pretty different than a game NFT. So gaming NFTs, and the reason I think they're the biggest bet is that it's really not about something like nebulous, like a brand. It's just about an asset ownership that already exists. Like people already covet WoW Gold. They buy it on secondary markets, whether it's legal or not, but they just don't own it. And then WoW Gold might be a token, not an NFT, but like a weapon that's really valuable might be an NFT. These things are already valuable and already understood in traditional gaming. You just don't own it. So I think that simple change of ownership in gaming is going to be a huge one, and it's subtle enough, not nebulous, that normal people can adopt it and there can be a huge economy around it without too much else happening.
Very interesting. Excited to see what comes of the space. Definitely, I'll always be DeFi first, at least on this channel, but I'm starting to look more into NFTs and NFT gaming just as a personal topic of interest. It's been great having you on, Coop. How can people follow you if they want to keep up with your work?
Definitely Twitter. So it's Coopernicus01 on Twitter. And then if you're interested in learning more, the Fief Guild Discord is really great because we essentially have just a big community of NFT gamers, people who think it's the future. And we hang out and analyze stuff. We're not tied to one game or even our own guild. We have a lot of conversations around what's happening in the space. So I would join us there too.
Awesome. And I'll include links to both of those in the description of the video.
Awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to say, thanks for having me, and I'd be happy to come and chat about updates in like a month or two.
Definitely, would love to have you back on sometime, and hope that some people are able to learn some good things about NFTs and NFT gaming from this video.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick.
See you, Coop.
Bye.